Claudia Sheinbaum will become the country's first female president after winning about 60% of the vote. Sheinbaum, a climate scientist and energy engineer, was previously the mayor of Mexico City and is a major ally of the current president. Protege, if you will. Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, AMLO as he is known, has been a harsh critic of big business and favored the nationalization of certain industries, particularly energy. For a closer look at the market reactions and challenges ahead for the leaders, let's bring in CNBC contributor Michelle Caruso Cabrera. The Mexican news crossed, and I thought, got to get MCC on.
Thank you. That's kind of you. Yeah.
Because we're seeing a huge retreat, because people are just worried that this is going to mean a supermajority in Congress.
Well, she's going to be able to do a lot more than what they had originally expected. In fact, it could happen even before then, because there's a month overlap between the new legislature and the current president. So you could see stuff start to happen as soon as September when it comes to deciding that instead they're going to elect judges to their Supreme Court, slim down the size of the Congress, and then perhaps a lot more intervention into the economy, which has been AMLO's track record thus far, and she has promised continuity. So we're going to see even more of that. That's why you see such a negative reaction.
Right. There are a bunch of proposals proposed in, I think, February that are now seen as having life.
When they didn't before.
Yes. Yeah, and so what's sort of the scariest stuff for investors at this point?
Well, the scariest stuff is definitely if they want to get much more involved in the economy. So he started to take over sections of the railway. Remember what he did to the airports, et cetera. There's a lot of arguments that should have been done because, the margins were too high in the airports, but it was the manner in which he did it, right? She's probably going to be a little bit more predictable. I would say the one thing that protects the American investor or all investors in Mexico is the central bank. The central bank is independent. They have a mandate that they must maintain the purchasing power parity of the Mexican peso. And they've been extremely good at doing that. And she hasn't said, and they've never talked about getting rid of central bank independence the way, for example, Lula has in Brazil, right? So there's a wall there that's protected. The move in the peso was interesting. A lot of people saw it as a big decline. But remember, when AMLO came to power that first time, it went to 24, 25. So 17 looks bad compared to where it's been a big move, but it was much weaker before.
Although a different era, though, right? So not a great day for the peso. And if I sound bitter, it's because I am long EWW. I was longer before today for two reasons. One, I sold a little more than half this morning, and I still have some. So it was a disastrous day. But
I'm sorry to hear that.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for your condolences. A lot of the Mexican story has been nearshoring.
Yes.
And to the extent that you have an administration, AMLO talked a lot, and some of the things ended up not happening, and people kind of got comfortable. This resounding win makes it a lot more uncertain. And so what do you think about the idea of Mexico as our firm nearshoring partner?
So when it comes to nearshoring, one thing to keep in mind is that both AMLO and Claudia Sheinbaum have both said they want very good relationships with the United States. She's been asked very directly about whether or not Donald Trump becomes president, what's that going to be like? And she says, I will have a good relationship with him the same way that AMLO did. So I don't see them going against what would be the wishes of the United States government when it comes to various issues, when it comes to migration, et cetera. Onshoring, of course, they want onshoring. They want more jobs in Monterrey. The issue they're going to face is a lot of Chinese companies have started to invest in Monterrey in the northern part of Mexico to get around the tariffs that have been imposed in China. And so when you travel to Mexico, I was just there about a month ago, and you talk to industrialists there, said, wow, you're getting tons of FDI into the northern part of Mexico. They're like, it's all Chinese companies. So there's going to be issues there if the U.S. administration starts to really look closely at who's starting to build in Mexico.
Are the Chinese companies that are investing also securing their own power and water? Because that's a problem.
Huge
for factories.
Problem. Yes. That's the one thing that really holds back, one of the things that really holds back growth in Mexico. Right. They desperately need to improve their situation with utilities. Years ago, I was at a conference where they were talking about high-speed trading. And the head of the Mexican Stock Exchange really wanted high-speed trading in Mexico. And one of the guys said, but you have no electricity. I mean, the latency is horrendous. Like, what do we, nobody's going to trade there because it's so bad. And when it comes to industrial production, it's the same thing.
Right.